Good morning, and welcome to our talk on pricing, how to charge what you're worth. I'm the founder of 2 practices myself, the author of 3 books, and the mother of 2 teens. Because, frankly, 3 teenagers would be ludicrous. Anybody with teens, it's like being mother of dragons, isn't it? Frightening, unpredictable, terrifying. Anyway, I'm Della Hudson, and I want you to be charging what you're worth. Because we can offer an awful lot of value to our business owner clients. So why is pricing important? Well, you're not just employees turning up to do a job. When you set up your business, you gave up having a regular income. Perhaps even risk the roof over your head. And if you're working long hours, that's your relationships at stake as well. There's a lot of risk involved in running a business, your practice. So you need to earn more than just a salary. You're more than just an employee, you're a business owner. But how do we sell that to our clients? It's all very well for me to say I'll charge more, but if you don't charge enough, you end up taking on too many clients, which means you don't have enough time. Somebody's nodding there, yes. And then you rush jobs. Hopefully you don't miss anything, but again, that's a risk. If you have time, you can do a much better quality job for your clients. And that's what we want for them, isn't it? We want them to get value from what we do. That may be business advisory. It may just be keeping them legal with a fairly simple tax return. We're not in it to rip anybody off. We want to provide value. And if we can provide a better service, pay our staff well, so we can get good staff, then everybody wins. So when you set up, how do you set your prices? I don't know about you, when I set up my first practice, I didn't really know. I knew I shouldn't have undercharge, and everybody will tell you don't undercharge, but what do you price? You may be lucky some of your competitors put their prices on their website. We put them on ours at Minerva Accountants. It means we get better quality leads. People know what they're expecting to pay at the start. Or perhaps the client comes in and brings last year's accounts and you have a sneaky look at what they paid last year. Anybody done that? I did that once, and I found the prospect was paying twice what we would normally charge. And believe me, we're not cheap. I don't want you to rip off your clients, please. It's not about that. We're trusted advisors for a reason. We want our clients to trust us. We don't want to rip them off. But price, as well as allowing us time to provide a quality service, it can also give people a perception of pricing, of quality. Anybody here old enough to remember Babycham? I'm glad I'm not alone. Babycham, for those of you who don't know, it's a perry, a pear cider. And it used to sell alongside ciders in pubs, bars, whatever. And then some bright spark in the marketing department decided they would repackage it and direct it for ladies, for women to drink. Made it sort of a sparkling, not quite a champagne alternative, but make them feel that those little bubbles. And then they increased the price significantly because they were selling into a different market. Such a different market, my father tells the tale. He took a girl out on a first date. She ordered a Babycham. He didn't take her on a second date. Thanks to Babycham, I was born when my father met my mother sometime later. So price can give a reassurance of quality. And we have the beer that is reassuringly expensive as well, don't we? But I tell you, you can do a better job if you charge more and have more time. This is still my favourite testimonial from a client in my first practice. You are dearer than, and he named one of our competitors, but easier to deal with and worth the extra expense. He didn't say our accounts were absolutely fabulous and terrific and he looked forward to reading them every year. Obviously they were. But we were easier to deal with because we had the time to answer his questions. Many of our small business owners are terrified of their numbers, of their accounts. They need an awful lot of hand-holding, talking through things. And if you charge a little more, you can take that time, and that's what they appreciate. We have an awful lot of systems, we have AI, all sorts of things in the back office. But what clients buy is still that personal connection. You have time if you charge a little more. It doesn't take much to provide a wow service. We can give them a little more time. We have things like our tax calculator that they can have. All those little things that clients ring you up for. And you're rolling your eyes because it's tax return season, you're trying to get everything out of the door as quickly as possible. They can look on the app to see their deadlines, to see where they go to pay, how they find their reference. And it's the same clients who ask every year, isn't it? How do I pay? Well, see the email I sent last year? No. So we have this. We also white label it for other accountants to use for their clients and prospects. And other useful calculators, should I incorporate things like that? We're able to throw in a little extra when they need a mortgage application or something. Yeah, I know we're supposed to charge extra for those things, but do you really want to take the time to remember to raise the extra work order and then to do the billing? We just charge more all round and throw in one extra each year. It's looking after our clients. I know I've probably got a theatre full of introverts, so it's always risky asking a question. But what is it that you believe you're selling? Are you selling tax returns? Are you selling a good night's sleep for your clients? They can relax and know everything's taken care of. Yeah, I can see some affirmatives there. Are you selling advisory that can really add value to their business and forget just saving them tax? If they're earning more profits, they'll actually end up paying more tax, but keeping more money. So everybody wins. We are selling more than just a little bit of form filling. Anybody here just a form filler? They send you their records and go, it's all right, you just press the button. If only it was that simple. So you know the theory. You've probably heard it 100 times before. People stood on a stage telling you, increase your prices, it'll increase your profit. You all heard the message before. And it's usually people who haven't run a business, who don't need to look the client in the eye and tell them, we are increasing your prices this year. But how do you go about it? That's the key thing, isn't it? I'm really into that, the how to. How do you do this? How do you do that? There are lots of ways to do it, but I suggest you start with your new clients, your prospects as they walk in. Work out what your prices should be. That may be scary when you then compare that to your existing client list and fees, but work out what they should be. and quote those in future. You sit there, you discuss the client's business, what they need. You then add your bit about how you can provide what they need, how you're a good fit for their business. And if you're not a good fit for their business, why are you taking them on, not referring them elsewhere? So you have clients who are a good fit, who appreciate what you do because they've just told you what they need. If they've come from another accountant, ask them what they want from you that their old accountant wasn't providing. That's the useful bit. Because when you come to the end and tell them their price and they go, that's twice what my old accountant charged. I said, I appreciate that. However, we've just sat here and you've told me your old accountant doesn't do this, that, and the other, which is all included in our fee. That's one of the key objections dealt with, because they've told you in that initial conversation why they're prepared to pay more. And I don't discount. I know my fees. I know what I'm worth. I know what my team are worth. Years of training, slogging away, trying to work and study, revise for exams, maybe even raising kids at the same time. I was lucky, I did mine straight from uni, so I didn't have to deal with the kid thing at that point. But I know lots of people do. You've worked to get that, and then years of experience as well, perhaps. It's all of value. You're selling your expertise. You're not selling a form. So you start by increasing your prices for your new prospects. And if they aren't prepared to pay that fee, it's a thank you for your time, and perhaps add them onto your mailing list, keep in touch, because if they go to another cheap accountant who doesn't offer all the things you've just promised them, they could be back. That's your new ones. That gives you confidence that you are charging the right prices. And then you go through your existing clients. Like I said, it could be scary how much you're charging now versus how much you think you should be charging. But you know from those samples of new clients coming in, that's what you're worth. It is market rate. Then we need to have those conversations with clients. And you might decide to do it all in one go. You might decide to just do a few at a time. Perhaps as the year ends come round, you tell them, for next year, our fee will be X. And while you're at it, if you put them on, divided by 12, get them to pay monthly on direct debit, saves you hours of time in bookkeeping and credit control. Goes through Go Cardless, automatically links into Xero, the bookkeeping's done. So roll it out in one go, roll it out in tranches, whatever's easiest for you, till you're feeling comfortable with those prices. And then make sure you increase those prices each and every year. Our letter of engagement allows for an annual increase. We have an inflationary increase every year. We also review the services that we're providing to our clients. Because sometimes, with the best will in the world, there's an extra bit of work has crept in, or they've grown bigger, so there's more work involved. In which case, we need to increase our fees. The other thing to do is to look and see, are we charging them for services that they don't have anymore? Because we're honest. I don't want a client to look and see that they've been paying for instance, filing a confirmation statement, which they've been doing themselves for years. We look really dodgy when that happens, don't we? Charging them for something we don't do. We're not dodgy accountants, please. So we're increasing our prices when we quote new clients, we're rolling it out to our existing clients, and then we're having annual increases. You don't need to justify that. When your own suppliers increase prices, they don't go into a long-winded, we're having to increase your price because of this, that, then the other, and. They just tell you, annual price increase from this date will be this. There's no need for a conversation generally, especially if it's already there in your engagement letter. It's a fairly standard thing to have an annual increase. Keep in line with inflation. But Della, you say, it's all very well to say that, but if I increase my prices, I'm going to lose clients. Anybody worry about that? Somebody's shaking his head. You've obviously increased your prices before. But just in case you are worried, a quick but simple example. Say you're earning £1,000 a month. You're billing £1,000 a month at a profit margin of 50%. I told you it was a simple example rather than a realistic one. You can add in your own margins on that. So you're making a profit of £5,000 per month. And then Della, Hudson, FCA, accountant and business coach says, increase your prices by 10%. And you do it, because apparently I know what I'm talking about. So now we're charging £110 for each. Income 11,000, profit 6,000. Great. And then the bit that you're worried about. We lose 10% of our clients. Not great. We'd prefer to keep them all. But we're making a little bit less turnover. But we're still making more profit than the original figure for less work. 90% of the work, we're making more money. And actually, it's probably even better because the price-sensitive clients are usually the ones who are overly demanding. Do you find that? You know, we'd all love somebody who sort of looks at us, wants to spend time with us 24/7. We just don't want it from our clients. The ones who ring you up at the weekends and evenings and then chase you because you haven't got back to them by Sunday evening. Well, they're usually the first to go. They're the most price-sensitive. On this example, you can lose 16% of your clients, so you're doing 84% of the work or less, and still making more or less the same profit. Does that sound appealing to anyone? Yeah. So what's on your action list for Monday morning? So I'm assuming, like me, you're going to crash tomorrow when you get back to the office, clear all the emails. But we still have to look those clients in the eye and tell them we're increasing our prices. But that's part of it. We have the conversation with them about what services they want. We talk about how we're well matched to them. We tell them the price. You look them in the eye and wait. Or I even have the little script mark. How does that sound? How does that sound? Let's get their objections now. They either say, yep, that's fine, in which case you follow up with, okay, I'll get the proposal out to you, and get that out straight after the meeting if you possibly can. We use Bright Manager. We send the proposal, they click, they fill in the information, it all happens. I was going to say fairly automatically. My PA does bits on it as well. In fact, she runs the office. She's there doing everything while I'm here swanning it around on stage. If they have objections, I've already talked about the That's more than my old accountant used to charge. We've already differentiated ourselves. I can't afford that as another objection. Okay, well, let's look. We've sat here, we've talked about all the services you want. Let's look at what you really need. So they can take fewer services and save themselves some money. Perhaps they do a bit more of the bookkeeping themselves, they do the data entry. We insist that they're using Dext or HubDoc or something to upload the information to us to save time, or that they put things in the portal, or they use Xero preferably, or at least some cloud software that makes things easier for us. And then we requote according to the new services. So we always offer the same quality, that they perhaps don't need as many services. I had somebody come in once, a friend was doing it for her, and giving her monthly management accounts. You'll laugh when I tell you the fee. £50. And I know it was a few years ago, but not that many years ago. It was definite mates rates. Anybody ever done it that cheaply for a mate? Monthly management accounts, bookkeeping, and the end of year stuff. So we quoted, and it came out with something much more realistic, of course, because she said she wanted these monthly management accounts. Frightening figure for a tiny startup business. But she didn't actually need monthly management accounts. It was a simple business. As long as she had up-to-date bookkeeping, Xero was near enough is good enough for management information purposes. So we took those off, and we got to a price that was acceptable for a service level that's acceptable. The one I said I don't discount, the one time I will discount is for charities. But even then, we invoice the full fee and then show a separate line with the charity discount, so they know the value. Because again, charities come to you, they'd sort of given a tenner each year to their old accountant. Full fee, minus the discount, comes to a tenner. Otherwise, they think the value is only £10. But not all negotiations result in yes. I don't know about you, I'm an accountant, not a salesperson. And some clients, quite frankly, aren't right for us. And I'll often refer them elsewhere to a more appropriate accountant who can suit their needs better because of specialist expertise, or perhaps they're a little bit cheaper for an okay service. And we need to be prepared to let those clients, prospects, walk away to an accountant who is better suited to them. Or perhaps to continue doing their own accounts for a little longer. I've mentioned put them on a mailing list. Do people have that? You send a monthly email or something. We do weekly tax tips for our business clients the same way I do the weekly business tips for our accountant and bookkeeper clients. You're still front of mind, and 3 years later, I don't know why it's 3 years, it seems to be 3 years, a lot of those clients come back through the door. We're an aspirational accountant. They aspire to grow their business based on our free tips. They aspire to grow their business so they can work with us. It's lovely. They come back. They don't just take the no-frills service. They take the whole lot that their existing cheap accountant can't offer. The all singing, all dancing service. Still don't know why it's 3 years, but that seems to be about right. So how do you set your prices in the first place? Well, I had somebody come to me, he'd had one of those letters from HMRC asking for £2,400 worth of tax. He did his own tax return, it was fine. He didn't need regular accounts stuff. He was quite okay. But he'd had this letter and it was scary. So he came for advice. And I knew exactly how to appeal that letter. So do we do a cost plus? And just charge him our costs, £1 for the stationery and the stamp. That's ludicrous, isn't it? The cost of postage is more than that these days. But anyway, we're not a cost plus. So we enter in a factor for our expertise. 35 years of expertise in my case. Spent most of the profits on hair dye. So perhaps £100 to write the letter. And we'll throw in the stamp and the stationery free of charge. But I'm a chartered accountant, and ICAEW just insist on all this sort of AML, know your customer, all these sort of things beforehand. We need to set them up on our software, things like that. It takes time, and time is money. And at the time, we were doing it fairly manually, so it was about £200 to set up a new client. So perhaps I charge him £100 for the letter, £200 for the setup costs, £300. Said he wasn't going to come back in future years. It was a one-off piece of work. There was no way we could absorb that £200 over several years. But we're offering real value. My letter's going to save him £2,500. That's worth a lot more than 300 quid, isn't it? So perhaps we charge him £800. That sounds a bit better for us. We're still providing £600 extra value over and above our fee. Or we could even split it 50-50, that we get half of what we save him. So if for some reason my single appeal letter doesn't work, we get nothing. It hasn't actually taken much time because I know even while I'm in the meeting what I need to write. But we get a lot more when a very satisfied customer gets that letter from HMRC to say they don't need anything. So different ways of charging because we add value. Even on a simple tax return, you are giving them peace of mind. They don't need to worry. They know everything's completed properly. They're not going to get a knock on the door from HMRC with the SWAT team coming in, and no, hopefully they never do that anyway. So we have our prices. How do we present our prices? We have ours on our website, as I've said. Feel free, minervaaccountants.co.uk, have a nose. We have 3 sets of prices. We have our no frills package. They get accounts, they get a tax return, they get a monthly bookkeeping health check. We use Xenon Connect now. We used to use Xavier and check their books once a month. This is my MTD thing. Because I'm not a gamer. Anybody here gamers? I didn't realize if you give people a bookkeeping score each month, they then reply, how do I improve my score? And I'm going, okay, so you want me to tell you how to keep your bookkeeping up to date every month, and better quality bookkeeping so that my job at the year end is easier. This is why we love working with bookkeepers. They do the hard work. We swan in at the year end and look good. But for the clients who don't have a bookkeeper, they do it themselves because they're small enough, then we get better quality stuff through the year because we've kept an eye on it. So the cost of the software and 10 minutes a month to check, we make up at the year end where we can churn their accounts out far faster. It's not so much tidying up. So this is why we have those three. So we've got three things: the minimum service I'm prepared to offer for the minimum price I'm prepared to accept. Then we have the middle one, the standard package. This is actually what we want all our clients to go for, and it's got those three things and a few more bits. Keep them legal with a bit of margin for me to offer them a little bit of extra each year if they need it. And then we have the all singing, all dancing one. Everything is listed there. So you've got one with 3 things, you've got one with half a dozen things, and then the other one you have to scroll down the page to see this whole list and the price. We're not intending to sell that. It's every time I do this, I forget to check which watch company it was. But there was a watch company, and they had their standard watches, and then they had their luxury range, which were a little bit more expensive. So what they did is they produced a one-off gold, diamond-encrusted watch that's put in a showcase, just to sort of make their luxury watches look a little bit cheaper than £1 million. This watch was never designed to be sold. It was only intended to make their luxury watches look better value. They did actually sell a few. And that's, our all singing, all dancing, people cherry pick, or they get the standard package and add on a few bits. Because I'm a business coach as well as an accountant, and it's so frustrating back before I started publicising it when clients would go to an external business coach because they didn't know we did that. So now it's there on that page when they first look. They might still go to another business coach, but that's their choice. It's not because they didn't know. So we've got there so clients can see everything we're doing, but also in the middle is the nice price that we want. It's on the website. That keeps me legal. I don't know about you. Before I started having a calculator to work out what I would charge clients, if I hadn't had a new client for a while, you sort of go to quote them, and you quote them slightly lower because you need that fix of a new client. Whereas if I'd had, loads of new clients lately, I'd feel really confident, and I chance my luck on a slightly higher fee. No, not huge variations, but still not fair on those clients. So now they're on the website as the starting price. I use a calculator to work it out. You might use something like Go Proposal to calculate your fees. I just use a spreadsheet calculator. Keeps me honest, because we're honest accountants, and it's fair on my clients. So I know that. Also means I can quote them in the meeting there and then. Deal with the objections there and then. I've talked about what to say. The talk is titled How to Charge What You're Worth. The big caution: we're not ripping people off. You must make sure you are worth what you're charging, which is a whole other talk. We're not ripping people off. We are providing value. Make sure you do use that extra time to provide better value, invest in better software, better staff, whatever it is that allows you to provide a better service. So getting your pricing right is important. We can take the time to provide a good quality job, which gives us professional pride. Anybody like that? Job well done? I really like it when I'm able to help clients I don't want to just be rushing through at last minute. As well as time to do a better job, it provides us with time freedom. We're not working 80 hours a week. I usually do 25 hours per week. At first, because those teenagers were littlies who needed me around 25 hours as a school week. Now I call it my L'Oreal week, because I'm worth it. So time freedom, financial freedom, either profits for you to do things with, or that you can reinvest in your business to get those good staff that frees you up or provides better service, and just providing a quality job altogether. We do have a bonus webinar next month if you want to find out the back office bit, how we make sure that we're worth more. Systemizing, automating, delegating. My wife noticed I'd started whistling again. I get these thanks in, and I just well, anybody do that when your clients thank you for a good job, and you just, oh, I love what I do. You're my favorite client. And there's a free download of the Numbers Business Book, How to Grow a Successful Cloud Accountancy Practice. Just a little thank you for giving up your time. And also, because you're going to listen to so many talks today, read the chapter in the book on pricing. There's a scan there. We'll take you, can scan the QR code and get a copy of that. We have 2 minutes left. If we have any questions. Okay, a question at the back, go ahead.
Well, firstly, thank you for your time. Just a bit of advice, really. When you talked about pricing and increasing pricing, that example you went through, typically not all clients are weighted the same with respect to revenue they represent. And often what you find is there are outliers where there are key or dependent clients you have. And that's typically what I've seen.
Oh, of course. So I said it's a simplified example.
Yeah. So it was
there's a lot of mix in that.
Yeah. So what would be your advice for a new practitioner where they have a heavy reliance on, say, two or even one client when they're going into that negotiation, identifying they need increased fees?
It's really hard, isn't it? When you're growing and somebody comes in and they're twice the size of your next biggest client, and you really want to win them. But the same thing applies. If you don't charge enough, you cannot deliver to that biggest client. I know from first-hand experience. I've done that. I didn't charge enough. Partly I didn't understand exactly what they wanted. Partly because they're my biggest client and I'm going to overserve them. Price them on the same basis. Make sure you are charging enough to do a good quality job. Oh yes, there was a question over here.
Thank you very much for the talk. It was very insightful. It was on a similar vein, just on businesses that are starting out and in terms of pricing. Is there any tips you would take on how you'd start your pricing models? Do you look to slightly undercharge, or would you say go full on for charging what you're worth?
Go full on charging what you need going forwards. Because if you win clients on price now, you will struggle to increase the prices later. The other thing is, if you need to add VAT on later to a non-VAT registered client, you sort of want to build in a little bit of extra so you can protect them from that initial registration. If you then have to start incurring extra costs like working from home, you suddenly take on an office, you have to pay staff, whatever. Start off charging what you intend to charge at the end. They don't know they're your first client.
This will have to be the last question.
Last question, because we have other people coming in.
We are managers of a practice. How would you advise us to convince our directors to charge properly?
Oh, blimey. get them to come along and watch one of my webinars. Yeah, we do a series of Better Business webinars, and I do the pricing talk a couple of times a year. So if you sign up on our list, if you can persuade them to do that, I can talk them round for you, maybe. But I can offer the same things. They can ask the questions themselves. Well, thank you all so much for coming. It would be lovely to see you at the extra webinar.